Texans preparing for the biggest training camp in franchise history, but did they forget something? Perhaps. Let's go.
Yeah.
Do it live.
Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop.
Did the Texans ignore something in the most important season in franchise history? It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. We're less than 4 weeks away from the start of camp. They haven't announced an official date yet, but spoiler alert, it's going to be less than 4 weeks. Whenever they decide they want to announce it, then we will play along. But it's going to be less than 4 weeks. We will be out there, boots on the ground, eyes on the field. And by we, I mean myself and Cody Stoots. You can also see and hear on SNL Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock right here on YouTube, presented by Prize Picks, just like the Locker Room is as well. $5 in lineups, get you $50 in lineups when you use that promo code HMA. A lot of reason to be excited about this Texans team. We know that they have a really good defense. We know they have some new pieces on offense. Now, how good are they going to be on offense? That's kind of TBD, but they've at least attempted to address areas on their football team that needed to be addressed. Only time will tell about how those results look. And quite frankly, I don't think on offense there needs to be some significant overhaul. I don't think there needs to be some sort of massive step that the Texans take. I think the area of improvement in the offense is going to be measured by what the Texans do in the red zone. That's how the offense will be judged. Statistically, they could be around what they were last season. They're still going to win games. They're still going to have a good defense, but they're going to be judged in the red zone. The difference between getting 7 and 3, and last year the Texans were one of the worst teams in the league in the red zone. They were 29th in red zone touchdown percentage last year. Just 45, less than 46% of the time when the Texans got in the red zone, did they score a touchdown. That's in a league like this where the margin for error is so small. We hear Nick Caserio talk about close games all the time. That cannot happen. And what have they done to kind of change that? They've brought in a different mindset on the offensive line, and they've brought in a few guys who should help them in that area. And they also have a quarterback who they're gassing up as more familiar with the system in year 2. And there's a completely different mindset on the offensive line. Ed Ingram, heading into his second year in the program with Cole Popovich, who revived Ed Ingram. I don't want to even say revived. He basically kicked off Ed Ingram's disappointing start to his career. They brought him back. They paid him. And Ed Ingram was on with Mark Vandermeer and John Harris on Texans radio, also the Texans YouTube page. And he basically said that everything is kind of different with this offensive line. I thought this was an interesting comment from Ed Ingram with Mark and John on the state of this offensive line and what the mindset is and all that with Cole Popovich.
I would say it's night and day difference. Like, everybody's starting to pick it up a lot easier. The practices, like, the coaches have always brought it up. Like, they was like, if you was here last year, you'll see, like, it's very different.
So, Ed, the break between mini camp and training camp, now you're married, so maybe you
all right, and this is one of the hokey Vandy questions where he's asking him about how would you rather have this lined up. That's one of those things. But it is interesting. He says night and day. It's a lot different. They didn't really elaborate. I don't know if there was like a cut there or something like that, but it is interesting to hear Ed Ingram basically say it's night and day. And I think that's encouraging when you're talking about the offensive line. When you're talking about an offensive line that was mediocre last year, I won't even say good. They were better. They looked better because they were better than the year before. And I think CJ Stroud did a good job of playing to where he helped out the offensive line a little bit better, probably the best that he's done in his entire career. It's interesting to hear the night and day, and I think that's a good thing to hear about not getting complacent and not getting satisfied. when he says that. And quite frankly, there's a new mindset on these offensive linemen. In the past, you would have Laramie Tunsil, you would have Titus Howard, Jared Patterson was a big part of it. Those guys are better pass blockers than they are run blockers. Now, if you look at the offensive linemen that the Texans have added, you've added guys who are run blockers. Wyatt Teller for a long time was one of the better run blocking guards in football. Kind of fell off the last 2 years. We'll see what it looks like now, but he's known for run blocking. Trent Brown, kind of a mix, but run blocking is a big part of what he does. Braden Smith, who's competing with Brown for that right tackle spot, run blocking. Ed Ingram, run blocking. Keelan Rutledge, who you drafted in the first round, guard/center, run blocking. So that's one of the identities that they've established, and maybe that's a little bit night and day. I don't think it's by accident. I think that's kind of the vision they have. They've said they want to run the ball. Now, hopefully that doesn't come at the sake of pass blocking, but run blocking, when we talk about the red zone and how the offense will be judged and what they need to do, it's something that they need to do better. And I have the 3 keys for the Texans to improve in the red zone and be able to score a touchdown more than 46% of the time. And the first one is run blocking. And that's something that they've emphasized. They're going to have to run block better. And it is hard to imagine that they don't improve decently when it comes to run blocking. It's hard to imagine. Last year, you had Laken Tomlinson, you had Jared Patterson, you had Juice Scruggs, you had Jake Andrews, and you had Ed Ingram, who said he was kind of hurt last year, also in that interview. This is going to be night and day when it comes to run blocking. Does that mean it's elite? We will see. But the run blocking, like in that area, I think you're in good shape. Key 2 is going to be David Montgomery. David Montgomery is known as a short yardage running back. He is a guy who's going to need to be able to move the chains. Last year, you had Nick Chubb. You had Woody Marks. Nick Chubb's stats actually look a hell of a lot better than he actually played. Anyone who actually watched it was kind of blah. But you have David Montgomery. Now, in Detroit, he was running behind an elite offensive line for many years. I don't know if this is going to be elite. So we will get a good grasp of what David Montgomery is about. But that's going to be key 2. And then key 3 is a guy, and we've talked about this a lot, Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins, basketball guy up till about sophomore year of high school, kind of fell behind in the recruiting scene because as soon as he committed to football, there was COVID. So you weren't really taking trips, kind of set him back a little bit. But he still possesses kind of the basketball skill set where he can go up and get the ball. He has strong abilities that allow him to be a potential threat in the red zone. Only problem is him and CJ Stroud just haven't really clicked that much. And it just hasn't happened. Last year, some of the worst throws Stroud made were to Higgins, and that trend kind of continued in the short time that we saw him in minicamp and OTAs. But getting on the same page with Jaden Higgins, adding him to the mix in the red zone, I think that's going to be something that could help in the red zone. We've already talked about the run game with 2 of the 3 keys, and I think the third key, get Jaden Higgins going, and that would be in the best interest. But this notion that they just, like on offense, they just completely need to become a top 10, top 12 offense, it's not true. The expectations, the curve, as I say, that they play on, the grade that they play on, it's much different with the defense that they have. So I think that as long as they can improve in the red zone, then they're going to be fine. That's if you get that percentage up to, I don't know, 50, 60%, even 60, 65%, whatever. If you're like a top third red zone offense, then you're going to win a lot of games. That's the difference sometimes it's a difference in a 1 possession game and a 2 possession game. A lot of times it's a difference in a team having to score a field goal against you versus a team having to score a touchdown against you. And that matters, especially when you're talking about a defense this good. So the stuff that they've done, I think their red zone offense can improve. The biggest question, I don't even think it's really an elephant in the room, Is CJ Stroud going to play in the regular season like he did last year? Or was that playoff performance so bad that it's going to be a sign of the yips, and it's going to be a sign of what's to come, where we look back and say that was the moment where CJ Stroud became a completely different quarterback than he was for the strong majority of his career, where he's gone from really good to pretty good. Never really been god awful, with the exception of those 2 games. So we got to see if, when CJ Stroud steps on a field next time, if it's like riding a bike and he goes back to what we've become used to. Because I'm not going to completely dismiss the possibility of there being some sort of yip factor when it comes to CJ Stroud with a performance like that. We're going to have to see what it looks like, and we're going to have to see how CJ Stroud looks, and if he is the same guy that we've become used to, which is a pretty decent quarterback. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. But they got to figure it out in the red zone, and that's something they're going to have to figure out. Let's go to the chat here in the locker room. Late night. Happy 4th of July weekend to everyone as well. I don't know whether you're working or not. If you are working, it's going to be a hell of a lot less traffic, especially if you're in Houston. So look on the bright side there. Some of you get double pay too for work weekends. Who knows? But happy 4th of July weekend to you, no matter what you're doing.
Swarm.
From A to B to N says, how the hell else can they get on the same page? They literally are working every day together, should be working in their off time every now and then too. I don't know whether they are or not. With CJ Stroud and Higgins, I guess you're talking about. No idea what the problem is. Sometimes it just kind of be like that, where you're on the same page with certain guys and you're not on the same page with others. That could be the issue. But it's clear as day to anyone watching that they're just not completely on the same page. It just doesn't click with Stroud and Higgins, and it needs to, especially in the red zone. It's got to happen. All right, so back to Cole Popovich. We've talked about Cole Popovich and the impact that he's had. We heard Ed Ingram talk about Cole Popovich. Let's hear D'Amico. I asked D'Amico about Cole Popovich, what he likes from him, and I think this is interesting. Because a lot of times when a coach talks about someone, it's a lot of coaches speak. Sometimes it's generic. It's like, well, he could have said this about anyone. But you listen to him talk about Cole Popovich. You look at all the things that they've done, and the impact that Cole Popovich has clearly had in some of the decisions that they've made. And you can tell that they have a lot of trust in him, maybe more than we even are fully aware of. I think his impact, or his influence, I should say, on the offense is a little bit higher than we think. Listen to D'Amico when I asked him about Cole Popovich. Listen to how he talks about it.
When y'all hired Popovich as the offensive line coach, what was it that y'all liked about Cole Popovich? And is it safe to say that what we've seen with this offensive line is kind of a significant impact of his with the turnover and everything?
Yeah, I mean, hiring Cole, the one thing in the interviewing process, like Cole is a brilliant coach. He's a very smart guy, and he's not just offensive line driven. Like, he's very thoughtful and seeing the entire picture of the offensive line, right, and how it all fits together. He's very thoughtful in making sure, hey, which guys do I need? What do they do well? And he does a really good job. You guys ever get an opportunity to see him work in his individuals and how he takes the time to coach the guys up on all the fine, small details that's really important for an offensive lineman. And it's him being detailed, being thorough as a coach, and never stuck on what he's always done. He's always trying to help his players, always trying to improve his players. And to me, that's the signs of a really good coach. He's an excellent communicator, does a really great job on game day as well. We need to make adjustments. Cole is the guy who sees it, can make the adjustments, and get us in the right situation. So he's all the things you want in a coach.
And so the way that he talks about it, it's almost like the impact is even more than just being an offensive line coach. The way that D'Amico Ryans speaks on that, and you can kind of see it. I mean, he's a guy who is. We talk a lot about the Nick Caserio, Nick Caley, New England connection, and all these New England connections. Cole Popovich is cut from that cloth as well. Ended up leaving New England because he didn't want to get a shot. And hey, he stood on his business, and then he found his way back in the NFL, and he's impacting the Texans a hell of a lot. And I think that the manner in which Cole Popovich has functioned, I think it's good. I think I support and I like the moves that Cole Popovich has made. I like getting rid of Titus Howard. I like getting rid of Laramie Tunsil. I like the new mindset of the offensive line. I like it. I like watching Cole Popovich work with these dudes. I think when you look at the work, like when you're out there, the work that it appears that the D linemen are getting and the work that it appears that the offensive line are getting, it feels like the Texans are in pretty good hands in the trenches. Obviously, I think the defense is probably a little bit further along, and I think Rod Wright is, to me, the second or third most important coach on the defensive staff. I would put Matt Burke behind him and maybe even behind Dino Vasso. But I think that Cole Popovich has done a hell of a job, and I think it's clear that D'Amico Ryans clearly trusts him. So it's kind of interesting. And by the way, if I didn't tell you already, SNL Live at Spanky Sharpstown Friday, the 17th, presented by Prize Picks. We look forward to seeing y'all out there at Spanky's. I can taste the pizza right now. Those boneless wings, they let me try them. They're not on the menu yet. They might be by the time we get out there. Those boneless wings are some of the best boneless wings I've had. And I like the wings from Spanky's, but those boneless wings, they made them for me, even though they weren't on the menu. Much appreciation for that. My goodness, they're absolutely delicious. Big fan of what they did there. But it is interesting. We're heading into training camp, and we're not talking about the offensive line. Like, we talk about concerns and all that. The offensive line is not really. I mean, there's some uncertainty, and there's definitely some stuff going on where it's like, okay, what is the offensive line going to look like? How are they going to look? But the concern, I don't think anyone expects it to be the best offensive line in Texans franchise history or one of the best in the league. But the concern relative to what it's been in recent years and really what it's been in the Colts franchise history, I think you at the very least think it's going to be better and it can't get worse, which can be famous last words when it comes to talking about the Texans line. But I feel okay about it. I feel like it's better. I like the vibe a lot more than it was before. But I don't feel great about everything. And there are two concerns, under the radar concerns about this Texans team that I do have heading into training camp. Two of them. And we're going way back. I think this is a solid roster. The quarterback concern, we're going to see how that plays out. But there are two things that perhaps the Texans may have ignored that could impact their season. And we may look back at it and say, man, they really should have addressed that. Two things. And I'm going to list these. And we just got to keep an eye on these. And these are going to shape up a lot during camp. And quite frankly, the good news about these two areas is that you could probably fix these if you go to training camp and you realize, okay, this isn't very good. It's not like going into training camp and saying, oh, damn, our receivers suck. Oh, damn, our quarterback's not good. Oh, damn, we don't have cornerbacks. It's hard to go and find those guys. Very hard. But in this instance, because you are a team that's been in the Final Eight the last 3 years, because you have a good roster, this is nothing too significant. But there are two things that I think that perhaps the Texans may need to pay a little bit more attention to. Two things. Number one, replacing Derek Barnett. The edge depth, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see what it looks like. But the edge depth is something that I think you need to keep a close eye on, because Derek Barnett's been a big part of this ball club for the last 2+ seasons. And it goes back to the Tennessee game. I was bringing this up earlier today. The Tennessee game in 2023 in Nashville was a game that we'll always remember as CJ Stroud couldn't play. Case Keenum ends up getting the start kind of last second. He ends up getting the start over Davis Mills. Credit to Alpha Aaron. I think that's probably his best scoop
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron
maybe
here.
ever. And I was glad that he ran with it. But he made the announcement that Case Keenum was going to start. Case Keenum started. And we remember that game. Like if you asked a Texans fan or you asked a media type about, hey, do you remember when the Texans played the Titans in 2023? What do you remember? And most of them would say, oh, that was the game that CJ Stroud missed after he got the concussion. The Texans needed to win, and Case Keenum ended up pulling it off. Wasn't beautiful, but he got the job done. That's what most people would say. And they would be right. But they would also have forgotten that Will Anderson also didn't play in that game. And that was kind of the breakout for Derek Barnett. I call it the who the F is 95 game, where Derek Barnett was out there. I think he had 2.5 TFLs, something like that. I think he had over one sack. And Derek Barnett was out there doing his thing and looked really good. And he never looked back. They brought him back 2 more seasons. And in the last 2 seasons, Derek Barnett has had 5+ sacks. And D'Amico Ryans, philosophically, he likes to rotate in linemen. Sometimes you'll look on the sidelines and you'll be like, why in the hell are Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter on the sidelines? What's going on there? And a lot of times you'd look up after saying, what the hell? And Derek Barnett would be making a play. He's not here. 30 years old. It felt like he was going through a lot physically to stay on the field. Maybe he's still on standby. Maybe he could get a phone call. Who knows? I could see Derek Barnett having all the money that he needs and just chilling. I don't know. But Derek Barnett has been a big part of this team. And we heading into the draft, when we were listing needs and we were trying to predict and use context clues and use the process of elimination, what they should pick or what they might pick, we thought they would draft someone on the edge. We thought maybe they would get a defensive end that they could rotate in. Now, they ended up doing fine. They got an interior offensive lineman. They got an interior defensive lineman. But on day 3 even, you kind of thought, okay, well, maybe they'll get someone on the edge. They didn't. And now it's going to be interesting to see how this shapes up. I'll be honest. Logan Hall is the one guy I'm looking at and thinking maybe he's going to line up a little bit more outside than D'Amico led us to believe initially. Maybe that will happen, but I still think they're probably going to need some more traditional edges. I look at Logan Hall kind of as someone who's going to fill the void of Danico Autry, or the idea of Danico Autry that they had when they brought him in. We never really saw that consistently throughout. Maybe that happens, but if you look at Logan Hall next to like the edges and you look at him next to the DTs, he looks a lot more like an edge than he does a DT. And there's no doubt in my mind they're probably going to try to put him in multiple areas. Now, D'Amico said he might start inside. Maybe he's playing a little bit more outside, and maybe that would kind of speak to why they didn't aggressively bring in DNs. Now, some people may be saying, well, they signed Dominic Robinson. Okay, we'll see how that goes. I know he had a really good first game of his career against D'Amico Ryans, and I think he had half of his sack production in that one game. He's a very tall guy. It's nothing overly impressive that I've seen up to this point. They have Ali Gay. I wouldn't really count on him doing anything either. It's not an impressive looking group of backup edge guys. Dylan Horton's been here for a long time. Do they trust Dylan Horton to be DE3? It's a really good story. They like Dylan Horton on special teams. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Solomon Byrd had a good camp last year. Most people looked pretty good when they were going against Blake Fisher. Are these guys going to be able to how are they going to replace Derek Barnett? Might seem like a small thing. I don't think it's a small thing. And I wouldn't take for granted the fact that Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and the defense as a whole stayed healthy. Last year, if those guys miss a game, you have Derek Barnett go in there and hold it down. If those guys were to miss a game, he's not there. How will the Texans replace him? It's not like a panic area, but it's definitely something to 100% get that, check that out and see how that whole thing goes. King James on the chat says, we, all caps, didn't think we're getting an edge in the draft. It was you with the emoji pushing that Falk propaganda. First of all, that's dramatic, brother. Like edge was listed as one of their needs. But yeah, when I say we, typically I'm talking to me. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah, that right there. Propaganda. Don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Say cheese for the camera, put up the deuces. Appreciate you for coming through, King James. But I think a lot of people thought they were getting an edge guy. They were talking about Messidor. There was a lot of talk about D. And if you didn't think that edge was a need for the in the offseason after Barnett left, I don't really know what to tell you. Tate Rodriguez on the chat says John Harris talked highly of Horton in one of the Texans All Access episodes. Horton's a good he's a good player. It's big shoes to fill with Derek Barnett. It's big shoes to fill. Really big shoes. I don't think he got enough credit. Maybe this is me like overcompensating and trying to give him his flowers for what he did. And the fact that a lot of this stuff, I think that the work that he put into staying on the field, you could just kind of see it being in the building. Maybe I'm overcompensating. Maybe it's really not that big of a deal. Maybe they can just rotate guys in. They did it at DT last year. Like when it looked dire at certain points, they did it at DT last year. But I think that I think it's a little bit bigger deal. Yeah, King James, it's all love, no doubt. I'm a profile picture there. For sure. The same guy who started City So, going back to the Cole Popovich thing, this is outlaw. That was weird, man. That was really strange. I don't know what was going on with the City So thing. That was probably one of the weirdest things that has happened. And I think that maybe there was like some New England bias there. I have no idea what was going on. But yeah, D-line replacing Derek Barnett. That's one. The next one, and this is nerdy as hell. This is not something that's like going to move the needle. This isn't something that's like overly popular. You damn sure wouldn't, like, if you're one of these people, and there's a lot of people who cover the Texans who are just like kind of cherry pickers and peacockers and all that type of stuff. This would not move the needle. This is 100% a local in the sticks thought. And this is someone who covers the team and talks about every aspect of the team, no matter what. But I will say, we got to keep a close eye on this punting situation. We really do. We really do. I'm telling you, it's kind of crazy when you look at what the Texans have done on special teams, because they obviously value special teams. They've been really good at special teams, but it's just bizarre that despite the fact they have guys that it feels like can play both special teams and linebacker, despite the fact that they have, Jake Hansen and Jamal Hill, the last 2 years, they've brought in guys who were not cheap, like Nick Neiman last year, who didn't even make the team. And this year they're bringing in Jake Hummel, who probably has the best mustache in football right now, and is a guy that Frank Ross just talks incredible about. I mean, look at that guy. But it seems like they value special teams, but with the punting situation this year, it almost feels like they half-assed it. And look, I know that there were a lot of times where Tommy Townsend was kind of up and down, and a lot of times the downs, they were a little bit frustrating. There were probably a little bit more shanks than you probably wanted to see, but it almost feels like they just penny pinched the punt position, which is really crazy because they value special teams and they're not good on offense. So a good punt can kind of bail you out on offense a lot of times. I mean, he was a special teams player of the week last year. And what did they do? They brought in Jack Stonehouse out of Syracuse, who's an undrafted guy. I'll be patient with him and we'll see what he looks like. I'm not going to completely dismiss the young man, but I will say that there's a little bit of concern or a little bit of uncertainty that comes with that. And his competition was literally one of the worst punters in the NFL last year. Literally one of the worst punters in the NFL, and Kai Kroger. And he doesn't look great. And really, Stonehouse doesn't look great either. Like, there's times where they look better than others, but they do not look great. Like watching Brian Anger and then getting to watch Tommy Townsend and getting to watch Shane Leckler before that. Like, and watching these guys, like you've seen what good punting looks like in practice. This is not the same caliber. And maybe Stonehouse is one of those guys that figures it out. The Kroger thing, I'm very skeptical about, but we got to watch this punting situation. And this isn't like some sort of like, I told you so type of thing, but it's just weird that a team that was willing to pay Nick Neiman what they paid him last year and then have him go away and then go right back to the well and bring in another guy, Hummel, who's kind of cut from that cloth. It's kind of weird. And when you watch these guys punt, it's not nearly at the same level that it's been for a while. So we need to keep a close eye on this punting situation. Did they half-ass the punting situation? It would be a crying damn shame if, with all the questions we've had about this team, with all the investments they've made in the trenches, on the outside, that if this season, the most crucial season in Texans franchise history, if you lose a game because of punting, or you lose a couple of games because of punting, or in the middle of the season, you're looking for a punter off the street, that would be a damn shame. It's not far-fetched to think that the punter for this team may not be on the roster. We'll see what happens when it comes to what the Texans do at the punting situation. Again, I'm being patient with Stonehouse. I don't know about the Kroger thing, but it'll be interesting to see how this punting thing happens. And the strange third phase, the special teams have gotten worse the last couple of seasons with Frank Ross. Now, very high bar, and he was extremely elite for a while, but it's gotten worse under Frank Ross, and it's something to keep an eye on. And the punting is something that, again, not going to completely move the needle, but something to look at, no doubt. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Again, the episodes leading up to the season going to be a little shorter. We're probably going to be doing 90 minutes to 2 hours once camp begins. So we will have that covered. There will be no shortage of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we got something else to look forward to as well. We'll talk about that in a sec. First, though, let's talk about Prize Picks. Training camp begins this month. It's all a countdown to week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. Prize Picks, already the best game in the land. More than less than 2 players, 2 different teams. You predict it correctly, you cash out. You can go up to 6. They got the flex plays. They got the power plays. Every sport you can imagine, and they're already ready for the Texans starting the 2026 season, the most important season in Houston Texans history against the Bills. Josh Allen, we know DeMeco Ryans owns him. They already got the week 1 numbers up. Will Anderson, we're going to go with more than 0.75 sacks. He owns Josh Allen. He'll get a sack. We'll go with that. David Montgomery, can the Texans run the ball? They say they want to. Even if they don't, more than 53.5 yards feels appropriate. CJ Stroud, we've seen him throw a lot of interceptions last time he stepped on the field. We'll say that he throws at least 1 over 0.5, but it won't be alone. Josh Allen, we know DeMeco Ryans owns Josh Allen, more than 0.5 for him as well. James Cook, is he going to be involved in the pass game? More than 15.5 receiving yards. It's going to be a really fun game. Prize Picks is already ready. Are you? $5 in lineups, get you $50 in lineups. Use that promo code HMA. It's the best game in all of sports. You can play it in anything, and they're already ready for the most important season in Texans history. It's just one of many things you can do. Check it out, Prize Picks. Use that promo code HMA, $5 in lineups, get you $50. All right, and the other thing that I wanted to touch on before we get out of here is the 3 guys to watch out of the tunnel at training camp. And the tunnel's really a big-ass bridge and a long-ass walk from NRG to the practice fields. But there's 3 guys that we're going to be looking at to see if these guys are ready to practice, if they are. Because Tank Dell, we obviously already know. That one, it's kind of an icing thing. If Tank Dell makes the team, cool. If he doesn't, then, hey, he's been through a hell of a lot. That's something to keep an eye on. Will he be practicing? When will he be cleared? That's one. The other one, and I'm watching this very closely because there's always an offensive lineman that you look at and you can immediately tell, okay, this guy is not even close to what he once was. It doesn't appear to be Wyatt Teller. We can see how he looks out there. But Braden Smith, who had a neck surgery, he's kind of battled with wanting to play football, not wanting to play football. He's on a new team. He's an older guy. I think that he's probably right now the underdog to start at right tackle for Trent Brown at the moment, because Trent Brown is a Cole Popovich guy, and he might be a better player at this point, especially with what we saw from him last year. Braden Smith's someone to really keep an eye on as well. And then, of course, Marlon Klein, who got hobbled at the end of OTAs and minicamp. We got to see him out there, especially once they put the pads on. So those are the three guys that I'll be looking at straight out of the tunnel. I guess we could say over the bridge. However you want to say it. It's going to be fun. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Again, episode's a little bit shorter this time. It's a slow time of the year, but we're going to make up for that and a lot more during the 7-month full sprint once training camp begins in a few weeks. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate you.
Every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.